Right now at 6 o'clock, a man who was out for a ride on his motorcycle died after police said he was hit by a car. Coming up, we'll tell you why we don't know at this point who is behind the wheel.
And we are on verdict watch in the Michelle Tronas trial, what we heard during closing arguments in court yesterday.
If it wasn't clear 3 times in a row, it's clear today.
And Mayor Joe Ganim has declared victory for the 4th time in Bridgeport.
All local, all morning. This is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good Wednesday morning. Thanks so much for joining us here at 6 on Fox 61 and Fox 61 Plus, America Areas.
And I'm Tim Lambers. Good morning. It's rainy out there, but boy, is it warm, even if it is a little windy. This is not winter-like weather, man.
No, it's not. This is a real taste of April showers.
Yeah.
Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Nice to see you dry.
Yes.
Going to be tough to do that today as we look for a decent opportunity of rain. Pretty much now, off and on throughout the afternoon and then into the evening is when the main course arrives. That comes with big winds tonight, especially tonight into tomorrow. We'll talk about that. And then a huge, albeit brief, temperature plunge on the way. Let me just show you the visibility for a second. There's a lot of fog out there, not seeing too many problems out there. Certainly some good news. Now to the radar, seeing a couple pockets of some moderate to almost heavy rain right along I-84. There's the Hartford Metro. Let's go down into Farmington, down into New Britain along Route 10, Plainville, seeing some heavy rain pushing off towards the north and east. So Newington, you're on deck for this cluster. Take you up to the hills. Notice it is all rain. There's no snow mixing in with this, nor are we looking for that. Now, as we take a look for a brief moment, by the way, a couple claps of thunder, too. You'll hear that, too. Potent line. This thing is strong. Tornadoes across central portions of Ohio right now. That part of the system will arrive later on tonight. We're not looking for severe weather in that intensity, but it's going to be bumpy, that's for sure. Look at these numbers, upper 40s to the lower 50s now. We're not looking for them to move too much as I drop my clicker live on TV. I want you to see this. It's good. This is the last thing to show you. Wind advisory from tonight into tomorrow. Wind gusts upwards of 50 miles an hour. That could very well lead to a few power outages. We'll talk about that part of the story and talk about the impacts with those swinging temperatures. That's coming up in a few minutes. I'm going to grab my clicker. Rachel Piscatelli will take over at this point. Good morning to you.
Yeah, you're going to need that.
I just tape it to my hand.
Yeah, exactly. All right, good morning, Matt. We aren't following any incidents out on the roads this morning, and no areas of road work to slow you down this morning, although that rain, when it comes down pretty heavy, may slow you down just a bit. So using those windshield wipers as well as your headlights that are on this morning. Otherwise, looking at 84, 95, and 91, all running smoothly with green on the board here. Here's what it looks like over in Cheshire. 84 east and westbound looks okay this morning. Route 2 looks okay as well. And then here's East Haven now with light volume out on the roadways. So just rut roads at times. New Haven to Old Saybrook is 28 minutes. Branford to New Haven is a nice 7-minute drive. Tim and Erica, back to you.
Rachel, thank you. Vernon police said a 25-year-old man on a motorcycle died in a crash with 2 cars. Let's show you the scene yesterday afternoon on Prospect Street. This is near Elm and Thompson Streets. It looks like one of the cars had front end damage. The other had rear end damage. And you can see there the bike was just in pieces. Police said one of those drivers of the cars ran away. So they are asking for any witnesses to the crash to call them immediately.
Well, you may have noticed the windows rattling overnight from the wind outside. Eversource says it's ready to respond to any outages. Eversource is asking customers who do lose power, please be patient as crews work to repair any damage to power lines. The utility is reminding you to make sure that phones are fully charged just in case you do lose power. It's also a good idea for any electric vehicle owners to make sure your cars are charged as well. Now, if you do come across a downed wire, whether it's in your yard or in the middle of the road, make sure you steer clear of it and call 911 as well as Eversource right away. Jury deliberations continue this morning in the Michelle Tronas trial. The jurors are now tasked with reviewing evidence and deciding if Tronas is guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and other crimes.
All of this, of course, is related to the disappearance and the presumed death of Jennifer Dulos back in 2019. So let's get out to Fox 61's Brooke Griffin. She's live now outside the courthouse in Stamford. This could be the big day. Brooke, though, where do we stand with the deliberations? What do we know?
Yeah, it's pretty early in that deliberation process. The jury just got handed the case yesterday afternoon. It was pretty late whenever they did get that after the judge went over some ground rules with them. And they only were able to deliberate for about an hour before being dismissed at 5 o'clock. Now, the judge tasked them with something pretty big. He said, don't make too quick of a decision. Make sure that you go over all of the evidence. It's hundreds of pieces worth of evidence, and also just a lot of hours of witness testimony. So they've got a big task at hand today. Now, the prosecution and defense teams presented their closing arguments yesterday after a month of trying to argue their side of the case. The judge spent almost an hour giving deliberation instructions to those 6 remaining jury members. He offered them a stern suggestion. He said, carefully go through each piece of evidence presented and do not jump to any certain verdict too quickly. Prosecutors closed their arguments by saying Fotis Dulos, Tronas' girlfriend, Fotis Dulos and Tronas' girlfriend, Michelle Tronas, killed his estranged wife, Jennifer, in her home, and then got help from Tronas to dump the body and clean that evidence.
Fotis Dulos needed help to commit that murder. He needed an alibi. He needed the defendant.
And the defense wrapped by saying prosecutors have no actual evidence against Tronas, even telling the court that she had no reason to even help Fotis.
At that moment, would Michelle agree to risk her life, risk her daughter's entire family life, to at that point say, I think we now want to get rid of Jennifer Dulos? It doesn't make sense. It's pure speculation.
And again, all of those remaining jury members are expected to be back here at the Stamford courthouse later this morning. Then that is where they could potentially come to a decision. Again, they only spent about an hour yesterday deliberating, so that today will be the first full day of that. We'll have somebody inside that courtroom, and we'll be bringing you updates as it happens. Live in Stamford, Brooke Griffin, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Brooke, thank you. And all of us here at Connecticut's news station will be closely watching to see when a verdict is reached in this case. And when that does happen, we will bring the decision to you live on Fox 61 Plus, on air and online.
And the 4th election since September, the voters once again chose Joe Ganim to serve another term as Bridgeport's mayor. In the general election redo, Ganim received 59% of the vote. Independent candidate John Gomes came in second. Republican David Hurst came in a distant third. Ganim declared victory not long after the polls closed.
We won by bigger numbers. I think it sends a powerful message that what we're doing, at least by and large, is supported by a great majority of the people of the city of Bridgeport. We're able to show that today, not just to anybody that's interested.
Now, Fox 61 also caught up with challenger John Gomes, who had this to say about his election loss and if he concedes the election.
Conceding, no. Conceding is to give up. Conceding is to give up. We understand our journey has ended with this election, but the fight and the movement will continue.
Gomes also said that he will advocate for change to make elections more secure. You may recall this race was thrown into the national spotlight after Gomes lost the original primary in September. He released videos appearing to show ballot stuffing at a drop box. A judge ordered a new primary and general election. The alleged ballot fraud is still under investigation.
Well, firefighters got to a house fire in North Haven quickly yesterday afternoon, but they still had a lot to deal with. Take a look at the flames as they were just rolling out of this house on Hartford Turnpike. Now, firefighters said they got there within 6 minutes of getting called. Nobody was hurt, and investigators are still trying to figure out how that fire started. Earlier in the day, firefighters were called to an apartment on fire in New Haven. This is at the corner of Winthrop and Gilbert Streets. Nobody was hurt there, but 7 people were forced out of their homes. While we don't know what sparked the fire, crews said they believe it started up on the 3rd floor.
Environmental advocates and lawmakers are going to attend a hearing today to determine if the state should restrict the use of rat poison. Norwalk Senator Bob Duff is going to testify in favor of this bill, which aims to protect birds here in Connecticut. He says he saw firsthand the effects of this poison when he found an incapacitated hawk on his front yard. Now, the pesticides are used to target rodents, but remain in their bodies after they die, and that poisons the larger predators that then eat them. The bill would ban the sale and distribution of these products. Well, lawmakers are also expected to discuss how schools can better identify and support high school students who are at risk of not graduating. There is a bill being proposed to give districts the ability to identify and focus on creating programs to help those students. A hearing on the proposal is expected at 10 o'clock this morning. Well, some lawmakers say the state's tax codes are unfair, and now they want to make the system, in their words, fairer. They are citing a tax incidence report from which last year appears to show the state relies on middle and working class families to support it more than the wealthy. Now, according to that report, half of the state's tax filers pay more than 20% of their income to state and local taxes. The top 1% of earners pays less than 10%. Lawmakers are expected to share their ideas on how to change that today at noon.